Cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin come with numerous advantages, including cross-border transferability and pseudonymity. Despite this, mainstream adoption is still very far away, and one often cited reason is the price volatility associated with cryptocurrencies. This disadvantage has motivated the use and creation of something called fiat-pegged cryptocurrencies, or digital currencies that have a one-to-one backing with a real-world fiat asset such as the US dollar. In Tether, fiat currencies on the Bitcoin blockchain, the authors propose a cryptocurrency called Tether. In the paper, the authors explore the fundamentals of Tether and the proof of reserves process that verifies that the tethers in circulation are adequately backed by an underlying fiat reserve. The authors break down Tether's technology stack into 3 layers. On the lowest level is the Bitcoin blockchain. Tethers exist on the Bitcoin blockchain via the Omni layer. The Omni layer is the second layer of the technology stack. It's a communications protocol on top of the Bitcoin blockchain. It allows people to create and exchange digital assets, such as tethers, that are recorded as extra metadata within a Bitcoin transaction. The top layer is Tether Limited, the company responsible for managing the reserve asset. They handle the one-to-one exchange between the reserve asset and Tether tokens. Everything would start with Tether Limited. They would hold the reserve asset, we'll just say US dollars for this example, in some bank account. A user would deposit US dollars into Tether Limited's bank account and receive an equal amount of tethers. The user would then be able to freely exchange the tethers in the ecosystem. Later on, the future owner of the Tether tokens can go to Tether Limited with those Tether tokens, and Tether Limited would then destroy those Tether tokens and send the user an equal amount of US dollars. Ultimately, only Tether Limited can create or destroy tethers. As a result, they need to make sure the tethers they issue into circulation have an equal relationship with the US dollars they have in reserve. They do this through something called proof of reserves. Insolvency means someone or some entity can't pay its debts. The goal of proof of reserves is to show that Tether Limited is not insolvent, that they can always redeem a Tether deposit with an equal amount of US dollars. The scheme proposed by the authors is pretty straightforward. First, there needs to be a transparent way of counting all the tethers in circulation. This is trivial since tethers are digital tokens, which are embedded into the metadata of Bitcoin transactions, thanks to the Omni layer. By definition, every transaction is public and immutable, so information about the number of tethers in circulation is also public. Second, there needs to be a transparent way of counting the total number of US dollars in Tether Limited's bank account. The authors propose 2 ways in which this will be made transparent. The bank account's balance is published publicly, and auditors will verify the balance claims regularly. The authors recognize that the proof of reserve solution is not completely trustless and decentralized. The main bottleneck is that Tether Limited has complete control over the reserve asset. The first risk is if Tether Limited goes bankrupt. In such a case, the authors state that the US dollars would still be redeemable. Another risk is if Tether Limited becomes insolvent. Right, and if we remember the definition, that means they can't pay their debt, so they can't redeem tethers for an equal amount of US dollars. The authors argue that this is a risk already associated with cryptocurrency exchanges. So exchanges are places where users can trade different cryptocurrencies. People can also usually buy cryptocurrencies, such as Bitcoin, by depositing a fiat currency. The authors argue that multiple strong relationships with different banks will help keep them solvent. The third risk is if Tether Limited's bank freezes the reserve assets. The authors claim that the banks are fully aware of Tether Limited's business activities with cryptocurrencies and believes that the company is in full compliance. A fourth risk is if Tether Limited runs off with the reserve funds. Okay, so the authors argue that everything is transparent, including the owner's location and information, so any theft of funds would be easily traceable. The final risk is the centralization risk of pinning creation and destruction of Tether tokens to one entity. The authors state that they'll work on ways to mitigate this, though they raise the point that everything else in the system is fully decentralized. The authors argue that Tether will be beneficial to all the major stakeholders in the ecosystem: exchanges, individuals, and merchants. With Tether, exchanges no longer have to carry the risk of accepting fiat deposits for users. Instead, they can just ask users to use Tether tokens in exchange for other digital assets. For individuals, Tether provides a Bitcoin-like digital currency that is backed by a currency that is familiar, such as the US dollar. Individuals get the benefits of blockchain technology for their easily understood real-world cash. Finally, merchants don't need to worry about pricing goods in Bitcoin, but can just price them in the normal fiat currency they are used to. With those pricing options, they'll still be able to easily accept Tether. In conclusion, the authors introduced Tether, the first Bitcoin-based fiat-pegged cryptocurrency. Through proof of reserves, Tether Limited ensures a 1-to-1 ratio between the Tether cryptocurrency and an underlying fiat currency. And that's all we have for you today. In our next episode, we'll be doing a guided reading of the 2018 version of the EOS Technical White Paper. We'll see you next time.